This is a situation of an artist art tracing and an art company that led to an artist being put out of work. This is a really unfortunate situation. Let's be respectful, show love to the affected parties, and don't send hate to anybody. And with that, let's get into the video. So this all starts with a tweet put out by Twitter user Your Stalka, writing, "I don't think I ever allowed my illustration's pose and composition to be reused and retraced to another illustration. Especially this tweet in past still exists." So here we have the illustration, and this is the post posted by a user by the name of Barry J, writing, "Mika and her mosh pit of mommies, art by Rate Visual Works." That is the art company in question. And we can see here this is posted by the same user. So it is written in Japanese, but that is also Staka. And you can see here the post date is May 12th, 2023. And if we go up, this is the piece in question, posted on Pixiv. And Your Staka adds, "This is an illustration created from 2023. This is a work that I created when I became the main illustrator for Rate Visual Art, a company I used to work for, but I have never given permission to claim it as my own or use in other works." And Fui adds, "First of all, my condolences. I saw the POV of the studio too, and it made me wonder if the studio ever explicitly asked the illustration to be treated as or turned into a base, since they seem to be working with your character here bases. Hope the question didn't offend you." And Staka says, "No, the illustration was never supposed to be a your character here in the first place." And Fui says, "Thank you for clearing that up. That I don't know what was the point of their so-called clarification. Sighs." And here the user who made that post, Barry, had then deleted that post and then wrote, "I'm sorry, and I apologize for any emotional strife or wrongdoing I have given to this artist. It was my decision to have this artwork traced, so the fault doesn't lie on Right either, but on me. Regardless of whether it was intentional or not, I only wish for this artist to forgive me and that we can both move on from this matter amicably." And Rate, in reply to Barry's post, the artwork, writes, this is also on March 3rd, "Hello everyone, please read our explanation regarding the current situation." And they write clarification. "Regarding the accusation against the studio and my client Barry J regarding tracing, we would like to provide an explanation and clarify the situation. The artist that made the statement was working with us as a full-time remote artist starting from December 2021 until August 2023. And within this period, we got the commission from one of our loyal clients for a VTuber fan artwork, and we assigned the job to the artist. We need to emphasize that the artist had signed a contract with a clause mentioning that Rate has the rights to all work created during the working period at Rate Visual Works. This clause was included to ensure that long-term projects can continue even after the artist's contract ends, and to protect the rights of our clients who have different needs for the works, including but not limited to commercial rights and NDAs. All points in the contract were discussed with the artist before signing. We always conduct a contract breakdown session where each clause is reviewed point by point, and candidates are free to ask any questions regarding the terms. Candidates also have the right to cancel the signing if they feel uncomfortable with the conditions. There are a minimum of 3 pause points during the session to give candidates time to consider the terms or ask questions. In the end, the artist," and then it's cut off from there. And then on page 2, it reads, "We give the shared ownership to client as the client needs to use that for their needs. The second artwork is the follow-up concept of redoing the artwork with the paying homage concept, where the characters are connected in some way. The contract too states that all works created during the working period require permission from the management team before being posted. This rule exists for the same reasons as the first point, and the action of the action post and artwork is breaching the contract too. In summary, the artwork was done as a commission to our client that has been done under Rate Visual Works, and the same client asked for a rework on it, and it worked under Rate too. So there is no tracing with stealing and malicious intent, since it was worked under and for the same party as previous artwork." I will say, I'm not personally sure how it works with like art studios like this, but I worked for an esports org and I did art for them, and I also had that in my contract. So I did have it written in there where any works that I create is actually owned by the company and not by me. Like works that I created for the company, not like works I did in my own time. And it's actually for that reason where if I were to leave the company and there was something ongoing, then the company would still retain rights to having it. Like I did works using the esports org's logos and stuff like that, like emotes that were in their Discord server. And if I left, which I did, right? I don't work for them anymore. Then if that clause wasn't there, they wouldn't be able to use the stuff anymore because it would mean that I had ownership of it. So I do, in one sense, kind of understand why that clause is there. But I do think from an ethical standpoint, there is an ethical way to treat your artists and their artwork because it is stuff they've created with their own hands and their own creativity. And being like, "Hey, can you trace this work?" And being like, "Yeah, okay, we'll trace over this work this artist made," even though they are under your own company, just because you are I guess, legally allowed to do it because they signed that contract doesn't mean it's still not gross and icky that you did do it. Things can be legal and still not okay. And people in the comments aren't happy. Fancho writes, question mark, question mark, question mark, explain how this wall of text will beat your allegations of tracing. So basically you said, quote, we made our own rules and our rules said it's not tracing, end quote. Meanwhile, it's blatant tracing, LMFAO. And Amiria writes, insane how there's not a single apology from this clarification. Such an effing manipulative studio, man. And then, unfortunately, there was an update to this scenario. Here, another person by the name of Machi, who goes by the Twitter handle MachiTSK, writes, my experience working with Rate Visual Works and how it led me to severe bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome, making me unable to draw or support myself to this day. A thread, and this was posted March 3rd. Machi writes, for legal reasons, all I've said in this thread are alleged. I wrote this with no malicious intent. I'm only warning my fellow artists about Indonesia's exploitative art industry, especially those who are still new or wanting to start. All of you must know about the infamous studio Semarang, right? No, they're not from there. They're, however, from Malang. Also, I apologize on the pronunciations, guys. I was looking for a job and then a friend recommended me to work for Rate. This is my first time working outside of freelancing, so I thought I'd give it a try. What convinced me was that they do illustrations for ChipiCon. They're under the same management. So, like, heck yeah, why not? What's weird here is they don't have HR. The higher-ups, which consists of 5 people, don't look like they have an established role, and that's kind of weird. But at the time, I needed the job, and it's hard to get a job these days. So whatever, I got hired. 8 to 5 work hours, 5 days a week. The job desk, finish 1 full-colored illustrations per day. The salary is low, below UMR, which, according to a little Google search I did, is the regional minimum wage for Indonesia for that hefty workload. They get clients from Fiverr and VGen and sell their services with dirt cheap prices. Oh, also, they don't cover health insurances. Working with them is just, it's not brand vile type of toxic per se, but there's this we are a family stuff they try to push. So you feel bad to complain and it makes you feel this is normalcy. They cut corners a lot. And the exploiting part is just blatant. It's basically a drawing sweatshop. I just bear with it because I don't want to be like those ungrateful Gen Zs that HR influencers make fun of. And then there were 2 posts that were deleted. Then they write, they accept any work from clients, VTuber models, comics, fetish illustrations, and when you've met the finished illustration quota of the day, they'll give you more work or even a fake assignment so you keep drawing for the entire work hours. They also have side businesses. A few of them are merch shops. They ask the artist to draw for their merchandise illustrations. All of the illustrations, copyright, belong to Rate, while the artists, no credit, no profit given. All we get is our monthly salary. Late August 2024, while working, I felt sudden jolts to both of my wrists and it continued with sharp pain. It hurt so much and I asked for a day off. Eventually, I got a week off of paid leave and I worked again after that. I was still drawing when I couldn't even lift my phone. I can't get medical help because I don't have health insurance. An assistant manager helped me to the clinic, bless them, and they paid it off with their own pocket, which later the higher-up self-proclaimed that they helped me with the treatments. Haha. Eventually, I asked for a 1-month break to see if there's improvements from there, and they agreed along the lines of, quote, not every workplace would do so much for you, end quote. Sadly, it got much worse and I quit eventually. No compensation whatsoever. I asked if there's any previous workers that resigned because of health issues, but they replied, quote, all of our former employees never had health complications, end quote. I live alone in Malang and I basically survived off my savings. I thought I'd get better by November, but no. I eventually got surgery on January 2025 for my right hand and scheduled for my left this March. Physiotherapy 2 times per week. Doctor said permanent damage to my nerves. I also possibly got tendonitis, de Quervain, and cubital tunnel syndrome. Around February 15, I tried to reach out to the manager and ask for compensation because my savings are completely deleted. But they replied with, quote, our studio are struggling financially, so we can't guarantee that we could compensate you, end quote. Yet the higher-ups are constantly having vacations abroad and starting another 2 new businesses, a cafe and a merchandise shop. They ghosted me until this day. TBH, I'm scared. Scared to death to share these details because of whatever consequences coming to me after this. But I'm struggling so much daily, I can't use my hands properly. Typing this physically hurts. I can't do basic chores, wash my clothes, or lift things more than 2 kilograms, let alone working or supporting myself. I don't know if I'll be able to draw again or work normally in the future. This is absolutely heartbreaking to read, and I am so sorry to Machi for hearing this. The way they were treated at this company is absolutely awful. No health insurance, being paid below minimum wage, and them working them to the absolute bone, where if you finish the illustration, they would just slap on more work on top of you, is so uncomfortable. And on top of that, again, them taking complete ownership of all the works and not giving any credit whatsoever to their artists is not okay. And again, some of these companies do put that in their contract, like, oh, legally we own it. Again, I kind of get it on on one side of the business rights for those reasons. But also on the other hand, again, there's like ethical ways to go about it, and you can like legally work it in to where, okay, like if you were to leave, we can't get the rights to it. So we can continue, the project can move forward without mistreating your artist along the way. And I don't want to hear any narrative of like, well, the artist deserved it because they work for that company. They saw the contract and they signed it, right? I know sometimes you hear that narrative. Some people feel like it's the artist's fault. One, can I just ask that we all get some empathy, guys? And two, a lot of times you kind of feel strong armed into signing the contract because as much as Rate says that, oh, we go through it with you, so you can look through it, the job market sucks. Like, I mean, I don't know how the job market is in Indonesia, but at least in the US, the job market right now is absolute dookie. So if you do, stumble across a job opening and, you're struggling to make ends meet, you're going to take any job you can, and they have this predatory looking clause in the contract, you're going to be like, well, shit, this looks really bad, but I need a job because I'm not going to be able to pay my bills soon. So I have no choice. So that is something that does come into play. And I just want us to be very empathetic about the artists and coming into this, okay? Nobody signs up working for a company asking to be mistreated, okay? So I just want to put that out there, right? I don't want to hear that narrative. But no health insurance for full-time hours, right? 8 to 5, 5 days a week is crazy. Again, I don't know the laws in Indonesia, but in the US, that would be very, very illegal. And then the studio put out a statement on the same day, like an hour and a half later, writing, "This is heartbreaking. Since we just met a few days and talking heart to heart, framing us with exploitative is a heavy word to us since we try our best to work on time 8 hours only a day. We even put our best effort to talk and assist you on your illness. Yes, we're a small studio. There's a lot of time when we don't pay ourselves, but we're trying our best effort to make sure we make our staff comfortable. Please wait for our clarification on this matter too. We're sorry for the inconvenience." What in the guilt trippy language is this? We met a few days ago and had a heart to heart. How dare you say that we're exploiting you? Like, we put our best effort to talk and assist you. This reads really weird to me. Like, oh, we're a small studio and there's like so many times where we don't pay ourselves. Okay, I'm just gonna be honest again, right? I don't buy this guilt tripping for a second. What do you mean you're a small studio? I don't care how big or small your studio is. If you can't afford to pay your employees, you shouldn't have a studio, point blank, period. What do you mean you're a small studio? Like, we don't have money, so therefore we hired you, but we're only gonna pay you below minimum wage, and we're not gonna give you health insurance, and then when you get injured, we're just gonna look the other way. Yeah, you clearly cannot afford to have a studio, so don't have one. Don't employ these employees and then mistreat them and underpay them and overwork them. This is why I don't like these types of like narratives of like, woe is me, we can't afford it, like we don't have enough money. You can't do your business, or you should not be allowed to do your business anyways, unless you can pay your employees fairly and treat them well. That is a management issue also at the end of the day. And people are not happy. Jono writes, quote, "best effort," end quote. I don't know how telling her that you can't compensate her with the hospital bills for the damage done to her wrist, yet somehow you have the funds to open 2 more ventures, a cafe and a merch store, is somehow your best effort. And the stalker says, boo, tomato, tomato. Masfia3 writes, "Masfia, bitch, you only give them 200 USD a month for that huge amount of works. 360 plus reviews on VGen, with the cheapest gig being 50 USD. Do you honestly think that's an honest compensation? While we saw your founder Facebook post going to overseas holidays," and a clown emoji. And yeah, so I looked at the founder's Facebook page. I'm not gonna show it because it might seem like it's bullying, right? But they were posting about conventions and ChibiCon and stuff like that. And correct me if I'm wrong, right? But I kind of ran the numbers. According to Google, the monthly minimum wage in Indonesia is 5.4 million rupiah, and that converts to about 329 USD. And that rate does differ city to city though. So the artists are being paid a little, like a little over half of what the minimum wage is per month, allegedly, right? And if we go to their VGen, this is their VGen where it reads Rate Visual Works. And look at their services. They offer a whole bunch of different art styles because they got a bunch of people under their thing, right? Dark and horror illustration from $55. Fantasy illustration from $75. Meme illustration from 20. Character sheet from 50. And some your character here's as well. So if it is true that they get paid 200 USD per month, and it's expected that the artists churn out 1 piece a day, minimum, right? 1 full illustration, right? 1 piece. They work 5 days a week, 4 weeks per month, 20 days. So that's 20 pieces. And on average, it's like $50 base price on average for those pieces. So each artist is like raking in this. Again, if this math is checking out, I'm just pulling some numbers, right? I'm not saying that these are the actual numbers from Rate. I'm just pulling some numbers just from my eyeballs. The artists are looking in to generate like $1,000 per month per artist for this studio. But if they're getting paid 200 USD, the studio is gleaming a solid $800 off of the artists. They're pocketing like 80% of the cost. That's what it looks like. I'm not claiming these numbers are accurate. I'm just looking, right? And then Rate on March 3rd put out another statement on their Twitter, writing, "Right now, we are confused about the situation with Machi. We are still trying to reach her to communicate things. Our priority has always been the artists and clients. We admit that in the past, we have many problems regarding the management, but in the past 4 years, we try to be a better studio and always learn from our mistakes. We even have personal talk sessions with each staff too to make sure of this, and many improvements on our working environment are based on these talks. We will evaluate things again tomorrow and try to do some discussion with all the current staff regarding this." And again, people in the comments are not happy. I just personally have a lot of questions to ask y'all, right? Okay, where the fuck is the money going? Like, let's be real. Let's be a little transparent about the money thing, okay? How is your studio set up where you are gleaming so much money off of these artists that it's not even funny and underpaying the shit out of them? Allegedly, right? Because I don't know their financials. It looks like they're gleaming around 80% of earnings as profit off of the commissions that come in. Where is that 80% going? If you can afford to, pay your artist about 200 USD per month, according to that Twitter user, and I'm just, again, eyeballing, right? Machi says they basically have to churn out one full illustration a day, and the minimum price for the illustrations look to be about 50 USD. Each artist brings you in at least $1,000. You clearly can afford to pay them at least minimum wage. And of course, in my opinion, artists deserve way more than minimum wage because you're paying for a skill set. And when you pay for a skill set, you should pay more for it. But this is disgusting. This is so icky. This is why I personally, like, of course there are very many ethical studios out there, but they always kind of feel a little sketchy to me sometimes. Like studios, art studios, some of them, esports orgs, a lot of sketchy esports orgs, and a lot of sketchy talent agencies. Because anytime people try to step in to be the middleman of services provided, a lot of times the middlemaning that is happening is providing like zero benefit and astronomical amount of harm to the people that are employed. There are so many scammy talent agencies that I've heard of. I have friends in scammy talent agencies, esports orgs that take advantage of their creators that barely pay them, if they do pay them at all. So many. It's all these like middleman studio agency things that are always, a lot of them are causing problems. In my opinion, when it comes to studios and stuff like that, it is too easy for unqualified people to set up their own studio and then recruit a bunch of artists or esport players or talent under them and then exploit them because they have absolutely zero experience and don't know what they're doing. I'm just saying that's from my experience of being in the esports industry and being in content for over 6 years, right? I've seen it happen time and time again, and it's heartbreaking every single freaking time it happens. And then unfortunately, we have an update from Machi on March 13th, writing, "Few ex-workers reached out to me and it turns out I'm not their first artist that got carpal tunnel. Anyways, still radio silent. They blocked my contact and personal accounts as well." And then another user says, and this is translated by Google Translate, so let me know if I translated it incorrectly, but it reads, "You have contacts. There's also evidence. Hurry up and take care of the visa. Take it to the green table." And Machi says, "As much as I want to, I genuinely cannot afford this." And of course, it can't be easy just to be like, oh, just sue them or whatever, right? Guys, you need money to sue, and if they're horrifically paying Machi under the minimum wage, right? It can be easy to think that, but it really doesn't work out in a lot of scenarios because you need finances to be able to sue in the first place. To wrap this entire situation up, I am so sorry to all of the victims of this studio, right? Machi and also Staka as well. God, I am so sorry. And in my opinion, the best way, honestly, is public accountability so that studios who take advantage of their artists, in this case, Rates, will kind of always have pressure on them to respond to Machi and present a solution for the situation that cropped up. I really hope a positive resolution can be arrived to that favors Machi and Staka as well, because what they went through is absolutely heartbreaking, and being unable to do your living and your livelihood and something you really enjoy, not being able to draw again, is heartbreaking. And wrist pain and wrist injury is something that might seem maybe kind of minor. It's like, oh, just your wrist, until you realize how frequently you use your hands for literally everything. And when you experience wrist pain, suddenly everything hurts. Like washing your hair hurts because you didn't realize you gotta like bend your hand backwards to scratch the back of your head. Oh shoot, now it's pinching. Now it's really hard to do. So I feel so bad, please send love to all the artists affected. I'll have them linked down below as well. So please show them some love, check them out, okay? Because they absolutely deserve it. And rate, you better answer up. With that, I hope you like this video. If you do, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Thank you for watching through all the way to the end. I really appreciate that. I'll be heading off to Japan and Korea. So if some future videos that come out, my setup looks a little funky, it's because I'm rotating through a bunch of Airbnbs and hotels, having a bunch of fun. So yeah, I do have an alternate Instagram and TikTok if you would like to go and check me out there, because I plan on posting, travel content there. And I also have an Etsy where I sell digital goods and stuff. And I have a coffee where I have free resources for y'all for content creators and stuff. And I also stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. So I hope to catch you guys there or in another one of my videos. Peace.